Wendy, thanks so much for being willing to hop on and talk to me about your firm and share some of your story with anyone out there who wants to know about how other firm owners run their business, right?
Right.
So, yeah. How about giving me a short introduction of who you are and why did you start your own firm?
Well, that's a great question. First off, my name's Wendy Tibbetts. I'm based out of Minnesota, and I am the founder and managing partner of Apex Professionals. We're technically a licensed CPA firm. I started my firm, or actually incorporated my firm in Minnesota in 2020. However, I didn't officially start operations until October of 2022 when I made the decision to leave my full-time corporate quote secure job. So, and at that time, I hired my first full-time employee, Carrie Asher, who has been with me since day one, and she leads our accounting and bookkeeping team now today. So wonderful to have her on my team. So, and my initial vision for founding the firm was to capitalize on my experience in tax as well as being a chief financial officer. So I worked in both aspects. So I founded that firm with a mission to empower our clients to make confident year-round financial decisions, not just at tax time, but throughout the year. So when I opened my office, that was my vision. We did want to, from the get-go, be a quote virtual firm. However, all of my team is that the majority of my team is local, but we still operate with a virtual mentality and a virtual model. So that's how we show up to serve our clients, because as I know, working with business owners, they're busy too. So to take 2 hours out of the day to drive to an office or for me to commute, it's just not efficient.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you started with an employee, no clients, no revenue, but with an employee?
Correct.
That's awesome.
And
How'd
a
that
vision.
go?
So, well, when we made that decision, it was thankfully, so this is my second business. My first one, I had a partnership. I was actually a partner in a construction company that we grew from startup after I left public accounting. So I had some business background to begin with, and I had an exceptional mentor with that first go. So, and I knew that if I had someone underneath me, that I needed to make this work. So I did have a good network of people, and it just started by saying locally, I joined a BNI group. So that's something I could talk about later. But I joined a BNI group and I just told everyone what I was doing. And from there, we started to build our client base. And I was very upfront with Carrie, and she was very gracious. I said, I don't know what this is going to look like. You will be W-2 employee. That is just something I'm pretty passionate about, is having my own team that I can lead and help grow. And so I said, I don't know what the hours are going to look like, but we're just going to go from here.
Yeah, that's awesome. What time of year did you say you launched? When did you open the door and start telling everyone?
I launched in October of 2022.
Okay.
Yes, I officially gave my resignation at my corporate job on July 22nd of 2022. However, I didn't leave that until September 1st. And then September, I spent just more or less on the road. So, but during that time, there were a couple people that we had already started to acquire as clients.
Yeah. So did you do October because it kind of just was when things fell, or did you do that intentionally so that it was before tax season, or?
No, there was no intention with it. I had been feeling, because I had a thought of going back on my own after being in corporate America for 7 years. So I had the feeling of I wanted to be on my own, but I wasn't sure what this was going to look like. And I didn't have the intentions of starting a firm with just tax. So one of that wasn't really my goal, because I had a blend of tax and industry experience as a chief financial officer. So I didn't align it with any season. And really what it came down to is there were some things with my corporate position. As much as I loved it, I had the most incredible boss. I just knew it was time. And if I didn't do it, I was going to look back and regret. And age was not going in my favor as well. So I didn't want to be 5 or 10 years down the road and then trying to start over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So how you mentioned you had the firm set up a couple years ahead of time.
mhm.
Why was it set up then?
So maybe more than people want to know, but we found out we were expecting. And with corporate, I just thought, well, that was a great time. And this had nothing to do with COVID. It was just the fact that I had set it up, structured, had a vision, had everything laid out, and then found out I was expecting. So just knew at that point and prayed about it. And I said, it's not the time.
Not the right time.
Right. I don't know if you ever 100% feel ready to make that shift,
I didn't.
but
Yeah.
it was looking back now, it was
Yeah.
much more clear that the timing of when it happened was appropriate. Now, I will say, I don't know if October is the most ideal time to launch a firm. That first quarter, so from October to December, just with the personal network that I had, we went over 6 figures in under 3 months.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. That's awesome. I launched in November of 19, and I did November intentionally because I knew that I was going to predominantly get my clients from tax work, and I knew that most people reach out during tax season, but I wanted to have enough time to get ready and to tell people, like I couldn't talk about it really before I left my job. So it's like, I need enough time to get the word out. I need enough time to start meeting with people and to get my process in place. And so it was kind of like, it's either this November or wait a whole year. And so that was kind of like, well, I'm going to do it now. But I had to have savings, right, to make it till tax season. And then really, honestly, we had to have savings to supplement the first year, potentially the second year. I didn't know when I was going to make enough to replace, I was the primary income. So it was like, we got to have enough set aside for this thing to last for a while in case it takes a little while to build up. Fortunately, by March of the second year, so really less than 2 years, but the second tax season, it was enough to replace what I was making, and it's been past that since then. So, but what do you focus on? I mean, one, it's a much faster ramp up than anyone else I've talked to. So that was really quick. But like you said, network, and you were targeting. So this will go into my next question: the type of work, the type of client. Like, what do you focus on in your firm? And you went into an industry where you had been working, right? Like that's what you're focused on.
Correct. Yes. And I'll back up a little bit. I had already accumulated about 20 years of experience in accounting and finance. So I held roles, as I mentioned, I was a partner in CFO. I worked as a financial analyst. I worked in public accounting. So I had those pieces in place. In addition, I had the experience of of business in general. So some of that learning curve from running a business wasn't new.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's very different when it's just you and not having partners. Okay. Second, when you mentioned having things in place, you see so many business, and I know some of it's sweat equity, right? You're going to put the equity in, but that was something also that my husband and I sat down and figured out is what is the minimum we have to live off of, right? And how long can we make this work by that? So were we willing to make those sacrifices ahead of time and having that discussion? Ideally, I would tell businesses, if you could have 100 grand of liquid cash starting out, that would be great without borrowing.
Yeah.
It just gives you that runway, right? We didn't have that luxury to dump into the business, but we did have enough of a cushion where me walking away from my corporate salary, I knew was not going to change our lifestyle for probably 6 to 8 months if I didn't sell anything.
But
so that was
like
critical.
No money to start up the firm, right? Like I didn't have to put any money into the firm. The money that I needed was the money to live on while I waited for the income to catch up. And that was the conversation we had And there were some circumstances that actually ended up making it where it was possible for us to even do that year. But talking to my wife, it's like, okay, I don't know what's reasonable. I don't know how fast people are going to come in. So I just kind of went with, I was like, I'm going to earn 25% of what we need, 50% of what we need, 75% of what we need, 100% of what we need. I said, so I'm giving myself a 4-year ramp up, which means each year I need to pull less cash because I'm making more. But I was like, I've got a 4-year ramp. I've got my cash projection personally of what we need to live on to make sure that the cash will last that long as we're pulling in money from the business. And my wife was like, well, what if it doesn't happen? I was like, we've got 4 years as long as I hit those 25, 50, 75, and 100% targets. I was like, if at the end of whatever we're burning money faster than we should be, or it doesn't work, I'll just go get another job. Like, I'll just, now from LinkedIn, it sounds like it's harder to get a job. But in my mind at the time, I'm like, I'm a CPA. I can get a job anywhere, right? I can go walk into any firm and be like, hey, I'll do work for you. And they'll give me a job, right? Like, I don't know if it's that
Right.
easy, but it felt that easy to me anyway.
Right. And that's even, I mean, part of the decision is my fallback plan is I know that I'm employable.
Right.
So that's worst case scenario. And it's interesting because we work with a lot of business owners. I don't know if it's unique to accountants or not, but to have some sort of baseline projection of what would, because I was like you, I don't know how fast this is going to ramp up. And I don't know that I would, looking back, I don't know that I would ramp it up that quickly.
Yeah.
But I had the pressure of, I had Carrie with me and I
Yeah.
was going to do what I needed to do to make sure that that
Yeah. You
happened.
got to make
In
sure they get
addition,
paid, right? Yeah.
right. I had made that verbal commitment to my husband that our lifestyle wasn't going to change dramatically. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I hit my year 2 goal in year 1 and I hit my year 4 goal in year 2. So basically I did it in half the amount of time, but like I didn't know, right? Like are 20 people going to show up in year 1 or 120 people going to show up in year 1? And yeah, so that was exciting to be like, hey, year 2 and half the amount of time,
right.
we now have more money than what we expected, and we can take those savings and repurpose them for something else. And in fact, actually, it was that year. So that goal, so I was like 45,000, 90, 135, 180. That was my gross target. And so at the end of year 2, it was like 186, 190. And so I was like, okay, well, this is double what we thought it was going to be. And then my wife's car died. So it was like, well, that's fine. We'll just take the extra money that we didn't think we were going to make this year and go buy another car. So it worked out perfectly because, I was like, we expected that car to last another 10 years, another at least 5.
Mhm.
But just crazy how things sometimes work out, right? But kind of similar to
Yeah.
you, I had been in 4 different jobs. I had lived in 4 different states. I was 35 and had a pretty vast network. I'm always shocked when I see 28-year-old open up their own firm. Not that they can't make it work. I don't think I could have at 28.
Right.
But it's just like, man, but then if you see that and it's like, well, it's hard to find the clients. It's hard to do this. It's hard to do that. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I got all my, I pulled from a 15-year network of people and,
Right.
multiple states, and also just people need to trust you, and
Right.
you can be better than me at 28. But
Hmm.
there's going to be some people who look at that and go like, oh, this guy's got 15 years of experience. I'm going to pick him over the person who's got 3. Right. And so
Correct.
that stuff factors into getting a yes from potential clients. And you need the yeses to build the foundation, to pay the bills, to be able to make it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I think you hit on just a key point is, and this is something maybe in we get into a little bit later, but at the end of the day, regardless if you're working for someone or working for yourself, it is work, right? It
Yeah.
is work and it takes work and it takes skills. And I think as much as having the technical knowledge, there's a lot of additional skills that come with owning your own firm and deciding what you want that to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew stepping away from my corporate job, one of the things that was clear is that I was going to have a team. And so in that, I knew that my revenue goals we weren't going to make it at 100K or 150 long term. So that was something that factored into to how I was building this. Now, the thing that I didn't know is exactly how we were what kind of services we were going to deliver. I had my own vision, but until you start getting clients, now tax is a little bit unique because you'd be delivering tax services, but it can be very broad, right? You could just focus on we'll say 1065s and 1120s, or you can do 1040s. So there is that as well. But we knew that we actually didn't even lead with tax at all. I
Mm.
still have yet to advertise tax services.
Yeah.
So, which it is a significant part of our business, but it wasn't where I started. I actually wanted to lead with CFO advisory services. But what I found is as clients came in, A, they weren't ready for that level. And B, the books were atrocious.
Mm.
So, would you know, just even preparing taxes,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah,
E-
they're horrible.
Even even when someone says they've done a great job with them, it's there is still stuff to do.
Yeah.
So that was number one. I said we've got to address this issue. So that in launched the bookkeeping and accounting, and a lot of my business clients that we acquired through my network, we started with the bookkeeping and accounting, and we helped them grow so successfully. And even when they came in, oh, I'm already working with a CPA. I said, that's fine. Tax can be a separate service.
Mm.
And I said, if you have a great relationship, stay there. However, what has happened over the years as we've been in business, these business clients, we've built such a good trust, and they're used to getting their financials, they're seeing their businesses grow. And then their CPA retires, or they chose a wrong one that doesn't communicate, or a whole plethora of information, plethora of reasons why they might not have a CPA anymore. So that's where we started to lean into tax services. And it definitely is not something that I have done any advertising on, but I have the skill sets and I have the team in place to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and frankly, I prefer 1120s. That is what I have known. That is what I have worked on. That is, I understand partnerships as well. And we have also made a commitment that we will not do 1040 returns unless they have a Schedule C or Schedule E
Mm.
with them.
Yeah.
And our focus now has been crystal clear on the returns. It's healthcare and construction is where we primarily focus.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's been one of my favorite thing of like, I don't know, I've done like 7 or 8 of these now, and completely different. Every single one, every single way they started, every single reason why they started, every single type of client they face is different. But the thing is, I mean, kind of what you just said, it's what you know, right? Like I had done audit, then I worked in a small CPA firm where we did like everything, and then I went and worked at a nonprofit where I was like finance person, then I was like a fractional internal CFO. And so then when I went to launch my firm, I was like, what do I do? And so I was like, well, I had worked in a small CPA firm. I know what I did there. I know how to do that. And part of me, I don't think I'd go back. I like what I do, but it was like, I know I can get tax clients. I know that they're out there. I know that I can get them. I know that they'll come in. I kind of like the heavy tax season and a really easy rest of the year. Like I like that flow in my life and that schedule. And I picked up a bunch of bookkeeping clients the first year without really talking about it much. And then that's kind of dwindled down without more coming in. I think part of that is also like I kept trying to increase the fees on the bookkeeping without increasing any of the deliverables. And I started talking about, I never called it fractional CFO because I didn't want what came with that title. I forget what I was calling it, but either way, it wasn't really where I had been positioned. I found it hard to find those clients because it's a higher price point. There's more
Mhm.
expectation of what you're going to deliver. There's less of them out there. And so I ended up like playing with it for a little while and then ditching it. And, just like I'm doing all right with, with the tax work, and my average fee is lower per client, I'm sure, right? Because the deliverable is less but it's quicker. And I kind of like, I hear people talk about like, oh, if you only have 10 client relationships to manage and each one of them is paying you $50,000 a year, my first thought is, that means I got to deliver $50,000 worth of value. And if one of them leaves, I've got to find another $50,000. Whereas I'm like, $750 of value. The client loves me. They're blown away. And if they leave, great. There's another one right behind them. I'm not worried about it. So it's more diversification, if you want to call it, right? Like, I'm not worried about
Exactly.
clients leaving. I'll find another one.
And that's such a good point, is understanding all of that, right? What does that mean? What makes sense for you? That's something that
Hmm.
I think as people venture into being on their own, really having that vision, right, of what you want this to look like. It's going to change. And with each revenue level, it does shift. But my goal will always be the work towards the advisory. Our path of what I had thought it was going to be is very different. But now that we have the base in the accounting and tax services, it supports my team, and it has allowed me to move into the fractional CFO services, which has been great because those, as you mentioned, they're higher stake, higher value
Hmm.
uh, delivery models, but I know this stuff inside and out because I've been doing it. And what I love about it is that I really get to use my skills and bring all those other pieces to them. What's interesting in the fractional CFO world is that they're again, CPA, we know what that means, right?
Yeah.
But when you get into that, it's just like bookkeeping. It is all over the board.
Oh, yeah.
And really and so that has been one advantage for our team, is because I understand. So construction and healthcare, it's what I know. It is what I have focused on. My deliverables, I can go out there and they know exactly what they're going to get and
Mm.
expect. I'm not trying to relearn a skill, and or so that's been wonderful, and it really does provide a lot of value in. And you have to understand your client base and what you're delivering to. $1 million company does not need fractional CFO
Right.
services. So they think they do, but they don't.
Yeah. And yet there's people out there selling it to them,
Exactly. That's
glorified
not CFO.
bookkeeping for $5,000 a month. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very different. So that, I mean, that is something we've moved into, but again, it's because we've expanded and we've got that base of what we have.
mm,
Our bookkeeping and accounting and tax services, they're very streamlined. We know what we want. We know how we deliver. We know who we're focusing on. But that I didn't know. I had a general idea in 2022. But when you need to take work, you take work, and then you
right.
redefine and you
Yeah.
look at your vision again and say, okay, am I aligned or am I not aligned?
Yeah.
So,
That's where I see one of the one of the most common things I see people who are kind of down the road is, I wish I had charged more from the beginning, and I wish I had waited for that ideal client from the beginning. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, had you done that though, you don't even know if you would have made it, right? Like, had you been sitting around with your minimum $1,500 fee waiting for that ideal client that you wanted, you may not have gotten the foundation that you needed to last, and you may have had to close up shop and go back and get another job. So you can't go back and rewrite history and be like, I wish I had charged more. And
right.
I think I don't know. I don't know the right word to use, so I won't pick one. But it's like you're telling other people to do something that's not proven, that you didn't do. They may take your word for it, sit back on this higher fee, and then never get clients and have to go back to another job and be like, I don't know why it didn't work for me. And it's like, well, because that person didn't do what they told you to do. They took money, and then over time they built their fees up, and over time they started to weed through and curate the client list that they wanted while dealing with the ones they didn't want to pay the bills for a couple of years, right? So,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
And part of that is just learning about the value that you deliver to clients, right? So I would much rather deliver a lot of value at a lower price
Mm.
until I know that that value is getting results.
Yeah.
And really what it comes down to is talking to your clients.
Yeah. And building up, like, you you didn't have the confidence to land that client in year one that you do in year 3, in year 4, in year 10. Even, I mean, again, even you knew it inside and out. So you probably started with a high level of confidence, but you've got even more confidence now than you did then that I can deliver this. I know how it's going to help you. I know when it's going to help you. And that's honestly probably why I didn't stick with the fractional CFO, because I had, like, at the company I was with, we were $800 million a year nonprofit, global nonprofit. I was an internal fractional CFO. I worked with 2 of our ministries, but it wasn't what the CFO is at like another like for-profit company. So it was like I know what needs to be delivered. I think I could do it. But see, even like right there, I just didn't have the confidence to walk in and be like, here's what you need. I know I can deliver it and
Mhm.
and do that. And so I kind of got in my own head of like, well, my experience is different, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to deliver what they're looking for. What are they even really looking for? So, but
Right.
that makes a big difference in
Mhm.
terms of landing the client and them being satisfied. I mean, you could deliver the same service without confidence and with confidence, and the client's going to have a drastically different experience, even if you
Exactly.
gave them the same deliverable.
100%. So that is, I mean, you nailed that. And it is, even if I'm confident in my skills, it's still the delivery and the client experience that just comes with doing this and mastering it. So and that's really what it's about. I know, and probably most accountants and CPA firms out there, we grossly undercharge for what we
Oh,
do.
yeah.
So number one issue and always is scope creep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So no matter how well my boundaries are defined, it happens all of the time. And so that is a big balance and something that I'm constantly revisiting along with my vision as well, not only for the business, for my team, but then also for me personally, because for those of us that have kids, growing a business is like giving birth and raising kids, and you become very close to the things there inside your business and how it's doing, that it's very easy that that becomes first priority in your life. So those defining my work schedule, my boundaries,
Hmm.
when I'm available, when I'm not, and then clearly communicating those, that's something I think I really struggled with in the beginning of my firm, was not communicating those ahead of time
Hmm.
and re-communicating those.
Yeah.
The other thing that I knew and thought about when starting my firm was, how was I going to get leads, right?
Hmm.
And yes, as you mentioned, I have a strong network, but I also knew going into this, I needed to have a way to get leads. And I toyed with a couple different things, but one of the things that I've looking back now, being where we're at in 2025, almost 2026, is I know that one of the things that I really need to focus on as I move forward is business development and my selling skills, the
Hmm.
ability to convert leads. And that's something that's very difficult in the world that we're in, and running a business in general, is to move out of doing the work and
Yeah.
being the person that's serving the clients into looking for work and bringing in the work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big shift. I have not made that shift. I do both. But I mean, I've got 3 people that prepare returns during tax season, and then I review them, which frees up
Mhm.
more time to do some of the other stuff. And really, I use it mostly to just not work 60-hour weeks, right? Like my tax
Right.
season's 40-hour weeks until March, and then it's like 50 for 1 month out of the year. And then it's probably 35 to 30 the rest of the year with, I don't know, 8 complete weeks of like I don't work at all. So
Right.
where could I get that anywhere else? You know, like I'm happy with that, but I haven't done that move where I'm just bringing in clients and I'm managing. And I don't know. It's one of those things where again you get to choose, right? And that's one of the things like
Right.
I kind of tested out the fractional stuff. I don't really want to do that. I took clients from all over and I was like, okay, I don't really like the sales tax stuff. I don't like the inventory. Like I don't want to do this. And so I can't even tell you how many other types of like products or how many things I've put in my 3-tier proposal that like 3 people got that proposal and then I changed it because you can
Right.
do that, right? Like it's yours and
Yes.
you can make it what you want and the ability to do that, but you have to try those things. Like most of us don't come
Yes.
in going like I know exactly what I want to do. You've got to be able
Mhm.
to test those things out, try them out and see what you enjoy doing and see what sticks, you know?
Exactly. And that is the challenge in those early phases of business because you just don't know. You can have every board out there of this is what I want to target, this is what I want to do, but at the end of the day, you start to get those clients and it shifts.
Yeah.
And until you get enough of them under your belt and you deliver, then you can start to make those changes.
Yeah, and you might find, like, oh, so and so said, I should stay away from this, and then you really enjoy working with that, and that becomes like who
Exactly.
you love working with in your niche and stuff. You mentioned real quick the boundaries, and it's kind of funny because I think it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. 3 levels of service, and in my basic level, I'm like, hey, send me your IRS notice, and I'll tell you why you got it and what you need to do about it.
Right.
And in my highest level, it's like, hey, I'll actually like get the power of attorney. I'll respond on your behalf and do it for you. 2 people got IRS notices. They both were in the bottom level. I prepared the response, sent it to them without, and it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, it didn't take long, but I should have, shot them back a message and been like, here's why you got the letter. Here's what you need to do. If you want me to prepare the response for you, it'll be several $100s. And otherwise, you can respond on your own. And they would have been perfectly fine with that. And I guarantee you, they would have been like, I don't want to do it. You do it. And,
Right.
and it was clear in our proposal that that wasn't part of it. But I still did what I said I was going to. I explained to you why you got it and told you what you need to do about it. But yeah, so one, it's good to keep the boundaries, but 2, you've got to be great. Like you can't beat yourself up about that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I
Mhm.
could have had another $1,000 or whatever. Like, whatever. My bills are paid. I'm fine. Client's happy.
Yeah.
Like, move on. Next time, maybe I'll draw the line and I'll set the boundary. Maybe I won't, but whatever. Like, you got to have grace for yourself if you're going to run a business, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Yes, and you have to be able to pick yourself up from those moments as well because you're gonna get that less than idea client. I had one that, oh my goodness, I got tore a new one for nothing that we really did
yeah,
at all. It just I had pushed back and I really shouldn't have even said yes anyway, but sometimes in the busyness and I didn't follow my process for properly screening and
yeah,
didn't flew through it and so, long story short, I just learned the other day this was a tip from my mentor, so I can't take credit for it. You got to treat those moments like a pity party, right? That's
mm,
what it is essentially when you get that moment.
yeah,
It's a party. You got to treat them like any other party. You go, you have your moment, and then you move on,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You whether it takes a day or 2 days, but you treat it like any other party and move on. And I thought that was such a great tip to just get out of your head. And because when you do show up to serve and finances, whether it's tax or you're doing CFO advisory or bookkeeping and accounting, finances are so personal to people
Hmm.
and it does impact every part of their life. So it's hard not to take some of those things and those failures personally. But like you
Yeah.
said, to have that grace and have a tool and mechanism for moving past it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's got to be how you boil something down to like, this is my most important piece of advice. I don't know, but that one's got to be pretty high on the list. And as you were talking about the client thing, it may be number one for me is you've got to trust your gut in a new client appointment when you're like, I should not take this client. How many clients I've been like, I shouldn't take this one. I shouldn't take this one. And then either they say something or I'm like, I like them or whatever. And then I take
Yeah.
it and then I'm in the middle of it like, why? Like my life, I don't care if they're paying me $10,000 a year. This is not worth what
Right.
it's costing me. And I think the most was maybe I did it a couple months ago with the $2,500 fee. I sent it back to her and I said, I can't do it. And that one was a little bit like it was a trust return, which I don't do a lot of. And I thought it was
Right.
like this kind of trust return. And as I was reading the agreement, it was like this. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be the right person for you. So here's your money back. A couple years ago, I took one on. He signed up for the premium level service and it was like $5,500, which is, I don't really have anyone paying me more than that unless it's multiple services.
Right.
But I'm in like, I don't know. I've already extended the return. We're in like the summer months. I'm in his QuickBooks. I've convinced myself I can do it. But the QuickBooks is so messy. The chart of accounts is a million. Like, there's like 15 bank accounts. There's like 20 asset accounts. There's like another 15 liability accounts. And I'm like, why does he have so many? And it was also an industry that I don't typically do. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, but it's going to cost me $5,000 to not just push through. And so I tried to push through. And eventually I just emailed him and I was like, look, man, the scope of your work is actually a little bit more than I thought it was. I don't think I'm the right fit for you. I think you'd be better off with a firm that has more resources, more human resources to put more time on this. And, you always make it better for the client when you fire them. And which I believe it was, right? Because one, even if I don't want to do it, it's still going to be better for them to have someone who wants to. And we worked this up. Yeah, it was painful to give him the $5,000 back. But he emailed back and was like, oh, that's awesome. I appreciate you being honest with me and I'll go find someone else. Like it went so well, like other than having to give the money back. But that was worth it because, man, it was just stressing me out. And it's like, that's not worth any amount of money to be like stressed out all the time.
No, there's no amount of money for that. And that's something that you figure out, right? I don't
Yeah.
think you go into it saying, and a lot of times it's always delayed of that's something I've gotten really good at is letting clients go that are not a good fit. And more often than not, when you let them go, you see the true colors. Now you had a really great
That was a
experience,
good experience. Yeah.
right? But the few that I have, the ones that are right, I mean, I've let clients go because they've just outgrew what, they didn't need it or their
Yeah.
business is changing or it's just for whatever reason. And to have a conversation like that, you can tell you can end well too.
Yeah.
So, and that's huge. And I
Yeah.
know with the advisory services, because those aren't years and years of services. A lot of times you help them find a CFO, right? That can take on because their business continues to grow. It goes from 20 million to 40 million, right? Then they probably want a full-time CFO. So there are times that your clients just outgrow you as well.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Was there anything, let's see, anything, I sent you kind of a little outline ahead of time. Anything
Yeah,
we
I
haven't talked
feel
about that you
like
want to make
we've
sure you hit on?
No, I mean, I feel like we've hit on pretty much everything. Other than, my biggest current challenge, and I talked a little bit about that, but would be, is continuing to move out of the client work and stepping into a role of CEO.
Mm.
And that is, having a mentor that can see those blind spots really helps. But that is, as we grow, as I look to 2026, and because I live and breathe in this world, I've got projections and I've got next hires and everything else. I have all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's coming back to asking myself, do I want to continue to work in the business or work on the business? And how do I continue to shift my schedule? It's not an overnight fix, but I continue to ask those questions and be challenged by having a mentor that does challenge me to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's awesome. I don't track much in my own business. I posted recently like the things that I do track,
yes,
but I don't it wasn't this is the first calendar year that I've done my own cash flow forecast. Other than I mentioned I did it when I first started because out of
right.
necessity, I needed to figure out how long my money was going to last before I needed to go get a real job, right? And then I never did it again because of the way we started. I didn't necessarily have to pull the money from the business. And because I'm tax heavy and I take money up front, January to March is amazing. And so I just leave the money in the business until I get to the end of the year when I go, okay, I don't need it anymore because January is going to be amazing again. And so
Right.
it was like, I don't really care about cash flow because it's all coming in up front. I don't need it right away. Wait till the end of the year. What do I want to leave in the business to roll into January? And those first couple of years, it was like, I don't want to leave anything in the business. I'm going to take it all out. And in fact, there was one January where I had to put a little bit more back in to pay some sort of subscription fee before the invoices started coming in. But I did it this year. And really it was because it was like, okay, I want to leave more money in the business at the end of the year. Like last year I had a goal of 15,000. This year I had a goal of 30,000. Leave it in the business. There was one year, kind of going back to the hiring of the employee. I hired my employee going into year 3, and I set aside the entire salary for that employee in December because I was like, if everything goes to crap, I want to make sure I can pay him for a year. So that was my planning. But then this year I did. I was like the cash flow forecast, and I kept each month so I can kind of go back and look and be like, well, how accurate was I in January when I was, knew nothing, and how accurate was I in June, and how accurate is it now? But yeah, shooting for kind of that goal. But I had never done that before in my own business, kind of take shortcuts ourselves. But what is, and maybe we touched on this already. I kind of mentioned it a second ago too, but the biggest piece of advice, or the advice you would give to somebody who's just starting out or coming up, a couple years behind you?
I'll give this advice is that we get a little benefit as CPAs because we're required to do continuing
Mm,
education, but make that investment in yourself, in your personal growth and your professional development. It's really easy to get complacent. And every new revenue level brings new challenges.
mm,
So without that vision and going back to it and setting it up first, what do you want personally? That makes the most sense. And
yeah.
I'm guilty as anyone. I'm like, oh, I get really caught up in doing the vision activities and then I don't revisit it. So, and even just like we were talking about with the cash flow projection, I mean, those are things that are easy to throw aside, but really will change your business because we can get so caught up in doing the work
Hmm.
and never put the effort on working on our business or ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. I think, yeah. I mean, what I'm struggling with right now myself is I scheduled these interviews and I've got like all these returning client meetings, and it's like, wait, when am I going to have time to I got to fix my pipeline before January, and I've got like these
Right.
notes from tax season that I need to implement, and I know I'll find the time to do it between now and December, but it's not like there's already like a day set aside to do it or a week set aside to do it.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of like, I always find the time to do it, but it would be even better if I would go ahead and calendar it and set that time aside to
Right.
really, really do it. But yeah, to double down on what you said, like, okay, even if you're not required to do continuing ed, do it. And
Right.
don't, it's too easy now too. Even if you are required to do it, to be doing something on this screen and just clicking the attendance button every time it pops up over here and not really paying attention. So do it to stay sharp and to learn. But also, I mean, you hit this too on the other things, right? It's not all technical knowledge. Like maybe you don't do your CPE in that, but I mean, like I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos from like a financial planner who's talking to other financial planners, but I'm like, oh, I can implement that language in my sales calls. I can implement that kind of process here. Or Alex Hermosi, right? Like, not talking about anything about CPA stuff, but I can pick up stuff from that. I love Story Brand by Donald Miller. Like, if you're going to make it, and this is the piece that I feel like probably is the reason why most small firm owners don't make it, isn't because they can't do the tax, but it's because the other stuff gets too overwhelming because they haven't figured out, how do I put the process in place? How do I automate this? How do I make sure that I'm setting aside enough time to figure out like which tool to use or something like that, right? It's not the work, it's the business running. And I'll be honest, like I said, I'm light on that. So I don't feel like I'm running a business. Like I am 100% in the category of what people kind of talk down about, of like, I've created a new job for myself. I'm not running a business. I'm not a business, like I'm doing that, but I'm not like a business owner. I've created a better job for myself, but that's what I want. I'm happy with that, actually.
Exactly.
And so it's like, that's fine. But if I didn't at least do some of the business side of stuff, it would have all come crashing down and burned by now, because I wouldn't be getting work done if I didn't have a process in place to be able to stay on track of it. And it's those other things that you probably don't think enough about when you launch the firm, of like, man, there's a lot more to this than doing the work.
Yes, it is still work.
Yeah.
Technical is one piece of it. And I love what you said about that, is that, you are happy the way that you have decided to run your firm.
Yeah.
There is no right way, but that, again, you knew exactly what was going to work for you, right? Your personal life, because that's what it all stems to. And I haven't heard that before, but that's great. You've created another job, but it's a job that you are in charge of.
It pays me more than any job I've ever had before. I'm working less hours and I'm enjoying it more. And that's where, like, again, it goes back to create the firm that you want to be in. Like I want to interact with the clients. I want to still do some of the tax returns. Now, do I want to prepare 380 tax returns? No, I'd be happy preparing more like 150 and then running a couple of staff that want to prepare some returns. And right now, those staff are my brother and my sister, so that's fun. And not sarcastically, that is fun. But I still want to be in that work. But life is seasonal, right? Like if 5 years from now, I want to completely pull back out of that, I can build up and I can put the process in place and I can hire another person and I can do that. I'm not saying that I'm going to do the technical work forever, but I'm doing it now and I'm happy now. And if that changes, guess what? I get to make all the decisions in the business, so I can change that.
Exactly.
If I want to shut down and stop working tomorrow, I can. Now, hopefully my sister and my brother don't watch this because they rely on I would not do that to them overnight. Maybe give a year or two notice to be like, hey, you neither take this over, do it yourself or whatever. But I don't see that happening either. I'm enjoying it. So I don't think I'm going to do anything else. I think also once, you hear this all the time, right? I think Jason Statz has a shirt that says like unemployable. And it's like, I don't think I could go back and work for somebody else at this point. I've ruined myself too much.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not going to happen. Well, anything else, or is that it?
I think that's it. I mean, thank you so much for hosting this, for having me. This was wonderful. I'm glad that we are in the same circle, and you've been tremendous in mentoring me as well. So thank you.
Yeah. This is, I think it was your group that I told, when we were in that small group, I was like, this is so much fun. I would do it for free. And well, these are for free because I don't make any money on YouTube or anything, but I was like, the fact that you guys would pay me to be in a small group and talk to me, like, that's just amazing, right? Like, so, yeah, it's been fun. So I appreciate you being willing to share your story and with the 50 people that may watch it, and everything that they'll learn from your experience. Thanks.
Yeah, have a great, I guess it's happy Halloween, and have a great
Yeah.
great weekend because it is Friday.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it'd be really fun to see. Because, like I said, I've recorded several of these already. So, how far from Halloween when I publish this one, I'm not sure, but we'll get to see.
Well,
When
you
it
can
comes
always
out.
edit that out, right?
I'm going to leave it in there
All
specifically
right.
for that purpose.
Yeah, well, it could be Halloween next year. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, thanks, Wendy.
All right, take care, Brad.
See ya.